Hello, everybody. Hello, everybody that's watching this recording in the future. I am so blessed to be joined today with the lovely Shalini in Denver, Colorado. And Shal is a certified personal trainer and has had this wonderful journey with health and nutrition. And I just want to welcome you today, Shal. Thank you for joining me.
Thank you for having me. I'm happy to be here with you all.
I'm so happy to have you. Would you mind starting us off by just telling us a little bit about you and Shal in a nutshell?
Sure. Shal in a nutshell. Sure. Absolutely. So, Shal in a nutshell. Gosh, I was born and raised in Minnesota. Went to school there, went to the University of Minnesota there, just experienced a lot of conversion, was born and raised Catholic, but wasn't until really the end of college that faith became a real part of my life. Served a couple of years with a ministry called Net Ministries. We led faith-based retreats for 6th through 12th graders across the country. And then after that, 2 years, I started my time in law school. And leading up to that, actually, my heart has always been, my passion, like everything has always been in women's health and wellness. I grew up as an athlete. I've had my own journey with my own wellness. But went to law school, graduated from law school, did the things you quote unquote should do for success in the world. But coming out of law school, it was finally time to pursue what I knew I was created to pursue, which is all things health and wellness in terms of women in particular. So I met my husband in law school, so not all was wasted with that time, which is a great joy. His name is Matt. He is from Colorado, which is why we are here now. I am, yes, a certified personal trainer, certified nutrition coach, work with women across the country and other countries on their health and wellness journeys. We have a sweet girl, Callan, who's 4, is currently at school, which is why we can do this right now. And that is kind of Shal in a nutshell, kind of the very fast version up until right now, the very general view of everything, at least.
I love it. I love it. Would you mind sharing with us a little bit about your business and what you do when you work with women?
Sure, absolutely. So my business is called Pray, Train, Grow. And a lot of it was born out of my own journey within women's health and wellness, within my own journey of trying to figure out, who am I? What is my body for? How can I serve others and pour love into others because I am able to take care of myself? What does that look like in terms of faith, and where does Jesus sit amidst all of this? And to be perfectly honest, I tried, right? I think a lot of us as women can relate to like the yo-yo diets or the fads or do this or the get this quick and da-da-da-da. Like I had done all of that. And it really wasn't until I welcomed and invited Jesus into everything, including my fitness and wellness journey, that my life began to transform in a new way. And so all of that being my experience, I took all of that and knew, okay, what were really the core pieces of my own journey to get me to where I'm at. Still very much on the journey. But it was prayer. It was training, not just exercise, but just training our minds and our hearts in discipline, in motherhood, in wife life, in business ownership, just in the world. What does training look like? So pray, train, and then grow, because we know we are meant to be saints. We know that we are not here just to stay stuck, but that we are always called to grow into the very best version of ourselves, who we are created to be. So Pray, Train, Grow is my business. It's what I help other women do. There's an exercise component, nutrition component, but at the core of it all is this relationship with Jesus that's so important. So I train virtually. I do everything virtually at this point, this season of life. That's where we're at. Someday I'll go in person, but for now, training virtually and just really, really enjoying what God's doing in all of it.
That's amazing. I love that so much. And I love that, as we dive deep into discipline within one area of our lives, whether that's, through physical fitness or through our spiritual life, I feel like there's such a continuity of that, like really finding that fullness of truth, right? By allowing that to go into all these different areas of our life, right? It's not just in your, being disciplined in your exercise is not just this isolated thing. It impacts everything else. I love that so much. Yay. So how how do you help women to integrate their faith life into their fitness? Because I know your lovely heart, that is such a big thing for you. So how do you help others if somebody was struggling in that
Sure.
arena?
I think first and foremost, you have to see the person and where they're at, right? Because all of us have a different relationship with the Lord. Some of us feel like we quote unquote know how to pray. Some of us have never quote unquote prayed before, right? So women come from all walks of life, all different seasons, and are in very different places. So first and foremost is just like coming alongside them and reassuring them that they have never been alone. They are not alone. They will never be alone. And that Jesus wants to come into all of this with them. And that looks really, really different, again, for everybody, just depending. But I actually haven't shared this at all, aside from this little group of people here in my life in the figurative sense. But right now, how I also integrate faith into my clients' lives is just by sending a short little reflection every single morning, which either has like a quote from a saint or a Bible verse to reflect on, and has the core component of fitness or wellness or nutrition tied into it, or these right virtues of discipline and consistency. And because they really are necessary for all of it. But my hope and my dream, which is the piece that I haven't necessarily yelled from the rooftops quite yet, but is to create a devotional for women that have maybe never integrated faith and fitness, have before, but want a deeper dive into it. So God's just bubbling up a lot. And I think what I also tell my clients a lot of the times is how we will integrate faith is going to be completely up to the Lord in this, because I tell my gals, like, in our training program, we're going to focus on 3 things in particular: faith, food, and fitness. That's really what you can think of my training as, the umbrella over it. But it's really beautiful how God directs all of it, where I have some clients that have had different kinds of relationships with food, and God's like, yep, this is where we're going to focus. And I've got other clients, on the other hand, that have, for example, struggled to be consistent with exercise, and God's like, yep, we're going to focus on consistency. And I think what you were saying is so true, Rita, of when we are working on growing in these different ideas like consistency or discipline or responsibility or commitment, all of that will bleed into the rest of your life. So it's kind of hard to answer your question of like, how do you integrate? Because God integrates as he so desires, but really I just show up and I'm kind of a guide, I guess you could say, in it all.
That's beautiful. I love that. I do something similar when I work with people for nutritional therapy. We do some mindset work, and I really try to have a heavy emphasis on that in the beginning, because it's the same thing, right? It can look very different from one person to the next, but we've got to cooperate with the Holy Spirit to help eliminate those roadblocks, or we're not going to be able to make the progress that we could otherwise make in moving forward on these health journeys. They're so complex.
They're so complex. Yes.
Oh, that's beautiful. Okay, so on the practical level, is there, like, say I only had a little bit of time for a workout, is there like a minimum amount of time that would be effective for helping like improve muscle mass or losing weight that I should shoot for, like, in a workout?
Sure. So I always like to say movement is movement first and foremost. So however you can get moving, if life is crazy or you have littles running around and it's just hard to get out of the house or go to the gym, whatever, movement is movement. So if that means that you get 3 minutes of 1 minute of jumping jacks, 1 minute of push-ups, and 1 minute of crunches, like, movement is movement. So I think starting there really is like, to answer your question of like, what's the minimum amount of time? There is no minimum. Like, if you can get your body moving, then get your body moving, and however that looks. However, in order to gain muscle mass, weight loss, those become a bit more complex questions, just depending on who the person is, what their goals are in particular. But I always love a good 10, 15 minute, 20-minute workout. And I really think that in our lives, it is possible to carve out 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 20 minutes. It might not look ideal and uninterrupted. However, it is still time that I really, truly believe that we all have at least 10 minutes to show up for ourselves in a day.
Yeah, for sure. I love that. I'm laughing because it was Wednesday. I was doing a workout and my toddler was happy with her siblings until she wasn't. And I was doing some plank exercises and they were particularly killing me. And she decided to come sit on my back.
Yeah.
And I said,
Yeah.
and now we're done with planks.
Yeah. Now we are finished.
Yes.
Get
I
it.
cannot do that with your 30 pounds.
Yes. Yes. But movement is movement in those moments. And something I like telling my clients too is that, and this comes, I think, right from the Lord, I always like to like recall the points where like Jesus goes off by himself to pray. And then of course he's interrupted by, right, whoever it is that's like, hey, we need you. Where his life is always interruptible. It always is interruptible. And if we are right called to follow him, then our lives too are interruptible. And that's okay. And
Yeah.
when we can embrace that and work from a place of love and sacrifice and service, not negating the fact that we should be taking care of ourselves, but negating this ideal or perfectionism, like the perfectionistic, like it has to be this way if I'm going to do it, and it has to be like, once we can embrace like it's going to be what it's going to be, and I can be proud of myself for showing up today, like I think worlds change.
Yeah, for sure. I totally agree. I love that so much. So, as you know, I work a lot with women that have reproductive health issues or infertility that they're navigating through. So, how can we exercise to promote fertility?
Yes, that's a great question. Well, and just a piece of my own story is it hits close to home for me because we experienced a miscarriage in 2019 and haven't been able to get pregnant since then. So I'm in the boat of secondary infertility and can completely relate to, man, like it's such an uncertain season of life to be in. And yeah, so even just to share that component of I get it and I see you and I'm right there with you. But to answer your question, Rita, how can we take care of our bodies in order to promote fertility? I think a lot of it is nutrition, which I know like that's probably something you talk very, very frequently about with your gals. But in terms of exercise, I always tell my gals, I think there is a shift that's being made where strength training is becoming more a part of routine and approachable to women. I think for the longest time it was like, I'm just going to get on the treadmill or I'm going to go for a run, and there it's not a knock on cardio because we also need cardio health. It's very different than resistance training health. But in order to promote fertility, when our muscles are at their peak, when we are growing literally in strength by lifting weights, we promote so much health in our bodies. With that said, and again, like so much of it more is tied into nutrition, I would say. So they go hand in hand together. But even just knowing that our bodies are made to move, we are made to move, and this could be kind of one of those things that, right, I think can be said in pregnancy too, where don't move, like don't move or don't exercise or don't no exercise. And I think what has been really beautiful for me and with the clients that I work with that are also in the same boat of infertility is finding what feels good to your body. I'm always an advocate of strength training, and that typically for 99% of my clients, unless they have an injury, feels really, really good in their bodies. But so much of infertility, I think, is trying to grow an understanding of your body and recognizing what is possible instead of focusing on currently what is not possible. Has such a huge mental effect too. Like when we're able to move in ways that are beneficial and feel good to our bodies, like our minds follow that I'm not calling to mind the word I want to use, but like our minds will follow like the gift it is to be able to move forward in a way. Does that make sense? Like the mental follows the physical.
Yes. I love that. And I think too, sometimes there can be this almost a disconnect, especially in this population of women that struggle with infertility, right? Is that this pursuit of health for fertility's sake, as opposed to a pursuit of health for health's sake, and then knowing that that also supports our reproductive health, our fertility. But I think it can be an easier place with that, in that that headspace, if you will, to be focusing on it for health's sake, because
Mhm.
otherwise it becomes a whole lot more discouraging, right? When we have our monthly period, or when we have that confirmation that yet again, things aren't happening the way we want it to. And so I love that. I totally agree.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And I think infertility is such a hard cross in so many ways, even like speaking from experience. But there is also, I have found exercise to be an outlet for all that. I like how you phrased it, of like when we are exercising for the sake of fertility rather than for the sake of wholeness, and to really see our bodies as like our bodies take care of us so well and in such beautiful ways. God designed them in just truly like such a unique fashion. But I think within the boat of infertility, and I've been in this place too, of just like hating on my body for not doing what it should or what I know it could or has done before, can be such, right? We know, like with cortisol levels, what stress does to our bodies, which hormonally is not helpful for right, like it's all connected. So I love even the fact that you made that connection of like, let's focus on the big picture of health and wellness, and not just hone in on this like, I'm doing this so I get pregnant, because we don't know, we just don't know.
Yeah, for sure. Well, then kind of going back there, what are your thoughts on intermittent fasting for fertility?
Yeah, I am. So with my clients, it depends on the client. That's what I'll say. It's really hard to put a really big nutritional umbrella over a very big group of people. So I hesitate to even answer that in a very direct way, because I think that was my answer of like, it depends on the person. Yeah, I'm going to leave that one there.
Yeah, for sure. I totally agree. And I know of a lot of functional medicine doctors that recommend not intermittent fasting when trying to conceive, particularly during your post-peak phase. That was actually a question from that somebody wanted us to talk about.
Okay.
So yeah, I agree too. It really depends on the individual and the person, and there's a bit of layers to be pulled back there too, right? Depending
Absolutely.
on what your adrenal health is and some other things that we could have going on that we could potentially exacerbate. Intermittent fasting could be particularly damaging for.
Absolutely.
And then I'm not sure, maybe you had this posted somewhere, something about your journey on healing your gut. And I had another question that was asked for you. What has worked for you and what hasn't in that journey?
Yeah, that's a great question. So, a little bit more backstory. You're getting little puzzle pieces, little little puzzle pieces here and there. So after we experienced our miscarriage in 2019, let's see, I have to like think back. 2020 came and went, and I was just feeling really lethargic, low energy. It was hard for me to just like stay awake, honestly. Like I felt like my eyelids were 1,000 pounds. Meanwhile, I'm trying to take care of this sweet little 2-year-old Cal at that point, rolling into 2020. So got through that year, and it was the beginning of April of 2021. I was just experiencing really weird symptoms like bloating, a lot of bloating, still really exhausted and a lot of pain. I remember one day I was sitting in Callan's room. I was rocking her to sleep as she was going to take a nap, and I just started crying out of pain because my whole body just hurt. And so I thought to myself, really, for the first time, it was weird because I'd felt that way for so long that it was just quote unquote normal. But it was kind of like a moment of grace, I would call it, as I was holding Cal, to say, like, this is not normal. Like, this is not thriving. This is not how my body has felt in the past. This is not how it probably should be feeling. So a little bit of time passed, and we have a great provider here locally in Denver that I had gone to, but they didn't, all my lab results came back quote unquote normal. So it was really a frustrating process. And I found myself honestly being quite hopeless because I knew how my body felt, but I looked normal from the outside. And I think a lot of us as women experience that. We look normal from the outside, but our insides are just a wreck. And so through a few months later, back and forth with labs, like nothing is coming up really, or all of my levels were in the normal range. They might be like really close to the end or really, really high, but they're still quote unquote normal. So it was just a random morning. I woke up and I was about to use the restroom and I just buckled over in pain. And my husband like had to carry me back into bed and we went to the ER. The very long story short of all of this is that when they did ultrasounds, they found 2 softball sized cysts on both of my ovaries.
Wow.
And so through that, we did laparoscopic surgery, confirmed endometriosis, which made sense. So after that surgery, I felt much, much better. So that was April of 2021. But by December of 2021, I was feeling the same ways again. And it was a bizarre place to be in because I thought I was healed, or I thought like, okay, we took care of it, et cetera, et cetera. But I was just starting to be more aware of how not normal feeling those ways were, and B, recognizing that I could be proactive about my own health. And I think this is kind of a side tangent, but I think a lot of times we kind of just wait for somebody else to say like, hey, you should try this, or you should do this, but we ourselves need to understand that we can feel really good and have energy and play with our kids without pain and not feel bloated all the time. So just to be aware that like you are your own advocate, and that's a beautiful gift. So after I'd started feeling ill, this was early 2022, of just being frustrated with my providers that kept telling me everything's normal, you're fine. I actually found this clinic called the Wellness Way. And it was just by fluke. One of my friends had mentioned it. They're actually chiropractors who also help like with gut health. So I was like, at that point, again, feeling so helpless and hopeless in a lot of ways. I was like, this is my last ditch effort to figure out what's not right, because something's not right. And it was through working with them. I took a urine test, a blood test, a stool test, all the tests, food sensitivity tests, and it became very clear that my gut health was the issue. It was the issue. And quite frankly, I'm still working to heal my gut because it does take a long time. So this is March of 2022 at that point. So we're almost coming up on a year. And it has been hard and it has taken work and intentionality, but I have not felt so good in so long. And kind of going back to our conversation about exercising, particularly with the hope of fertility or exercising for wellness, I really had to journey myself in prayer and talking to my husband and even just like chatting with myself about why is my gut health important. And so much at the very beginning was like, because I want to conceive, right? Like, because we would love more babies. And God, right? Talk about God being gentle. He so gently was calling me to this like more full wholeness of when you care for yourself, you care for me. When you care for yourself, you care for those around you. And so it was beautiful to refocus on the Lord and recognize like what a gift it is to be challenged to heal my gut. Cause it's kind of, again, one of those things that we look normal on the outside, but our guts need help. And it's really easy to ignore, even sometimes still as I'm walking this journey, and being really mindful of how I'm taking care of my gut. It's really easy for me to sometimes ignore because I can't see it. So if I can't see it, then I must be totally fine, but I'm not quite yet there yet. So even having to reel myself in, and just be really intentional. So all of that to say, gut health is everything. And in the more research that comes out, the more studies that are done, the more, right, like with the NTP program, it is such an incredible space in our bodies that so much is rooted to. like
Yeah.
everything.
Yeah,
Like everything.
for sure. It's true. It's kind of amazing how much, especially as we first embark on that discovery, really, how it feels so foreign, right? It's something that we really have to acclimate ourselves to wrap our heads around this way of thinking. And then the opposite can happen when you're so deep in this world of let's focus on gut health to improve overall health that we forget there needs to be some translation happening, right? That
Yeah,
your gut health is impacting all of these other
everything.
systems. Yes.
Absolutely. Yep.
So good.
Yeah.
So, is there anything else you'd like to share with our viewers, Shal? Any words of encouragement or anything
Yeah.
in general?
Well, first off, I'm proud of every single one of you for being here with Rita. She's incredible and I know is leading you so well. And second, to know that I'm praying for you because I get it. And that this journey is one of consistency, right? And even for myself, like there's this desire to just be better now and to feel better now and to be done with this now. But slow, sustainable growth is sustainable change, sustainable progress. And it will be every moment you spend working on what you need to is going to better your future and your family's future and your like it just there are so many ripple effects. And I think that's what I would leave us with last is simply that our own health isn't just about us.
Yeah. Yeah.
Our own health is just a true gift that when we are well, we are best able to love and serve those around us. And that's what we're called to. But I'm clapping for and cheering for all of you.
I love it. I love it. That's so beautiful. And where can they find you?
Yes. So you can find me over on Instagram. I'm at Pray Train Grow. You can email me at praytraingrow33 at gmail.com. And a website is in the works in the background. So I'll let Rita
Yeah.
know when that's up and running that you can reach out.
Wonderful. And I'll put those links in the description as well. Thank you so much for this time today, Shal. This was
You're
wonderful.
welcome. You're welcome.
I hope you enjoyed this conversation between Shal and I hope it benefits you greatly in your health and wellness journey. If you like this video, please like and subscribe for more content from me. And I'd love to hear in the comments how this video has blessed you and what you'd like to hear more about in the future. Also, for next steps in your own health and wellness journey, I've compiled a fertility ebook that is titled When It's Time to Break Up with Your Doctor. If you're interested in this, the link is in the description for you to get your hands on your own copy. Thank you so much.